Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today I want to give you the reason I'm doing this video is I want to give you guys an example. Yesterday I did a video talking about how I had to end all friendships, all relationships, all connections to all the people that I hung out with, that I knew, that I associated with when I was using. I mean, all of them. And basically start new. I rebuilt myself, and I reassociated with people around me. I got rid of all the people. I blocked them out. No connection on Facebook or Instagram. No phone calls, no texts, no nothing. And it's not because they were bad people. It was because they are one of the biggest triggers for me. I'm going to give you guys an example of this. One of the biggest examples, one of the first people that I really had to shut out of my life, and one of the hardest people that it was to shut out of my life. And this is an ex-girlfriend. She ended up doing 7 years in Niantic Women's State Prison. I'm going to tell you about how that happened. And there's a moral, there's a reason to this too. She was just using one night, smoking rock with her boyfriend at the time. We had stopped dating for a long time at this point, and she went back to one of her childhood sweethearts, and she was living with him. I'll give you the whole story now. I first met this girl probably when I was in my early 20s. I was dating her best friend, and then how this happens a lot. I ended up breaking up with the girl that I was dating and dating her best friend, this girl. The very first time I went to visit her house, I just stopped by. I figured I had a crush on her, and I stopped by and say hello. She was smoking weed with her sister. And in yesterday's video, I talked about this. I think you think back, what was the very first time I hung out with this person? I met this person. What did we do? Was it using? So this is the reason why I had to shut these people out of my life, because it really wasn't a friendship. It was just somebody I used with. That's really all. When you really get down to it. Even though I could honestly say I loved this woman, and she was one of 4 women out of maybe 100 women that I've dated in my life that I could say I love, that I probably still love, but I just keep her out of my life. I cannot associate with her. I can't talk to her. I can't. I don't text her or anything, even though I still love her. I can't have any association with her because she's a trigger for me. Okay, so like I said, the first time I went over there, she was smoking with her sister. She, looking back, this is one of the first women I dated that had abused. They had been abused by past boyfriends. And I had the idea in my head, I don't hit women, I treat women good. So I thought, I was like, oh, I'm golden, I'm like this, this woman will love me. She'll never leave me because I'm a good guy. I don't do that, I don't do that stuff. I'll treat her good. That's not how it worked out. And it took me a long time to figure this out. A lot of times, and this is, I feel bad saying this, but a lot of times that women get used to being treated in that manner, and they associate love with being treated badly. And she ended up cheating on me, and multiple times, and lying to me. But that's not why I broke up with her. That's not why I still don't talk to her today. Okay, so we lived together for I don't know, I'd say about 5 or 6 years. We dated on and off. For the whole period I was using, from my 20s till I was about 38 years old. I stopped. No, till I was 40 years old when I got clean and sober. Or actually, she went into jail when I was 38, about 38 or 36, 37, 38. That's the last time I talked to her. But we hung out, we used together. Sometimes we'd be dating, sometimes we'd be living together. Sometimes she'd be dating my best friend. She dated all of my best friends, which was another flag for me. Okay, so she was living with a childhood sweetheart. This was when I was about 35 years old. I'm going to put the link right down below to the actual news story, because I can still find it. The story that I'm going to tell you the link's going to be right down below, so you could actually see the story. She was living with her childhood sweetheart. She was dating him after we had gone through all of our trials and tribulations, but we were still friends. We still used together. I still used with her and her boyfriend. But this one night she was using with her boyfriend at their condo apartment in Waterbury, Connecticut. And they were smoking rock all night. And they had had a child. She had had her second child. She had a first child with another boyfriend that she used to live with, and this was her second child she had with this gentleman, this childhood sweetheart. And it was an infant at this point, the child. I believe it was a little girl. And the little girl was there in the home. It was a toddler under 1 year old. And they had been smoking all night. Like I said, you can actually read the story down below. And at some point in the early morning, they tried to go to sleep. They were laying in bed. Apparently, the toddler was crying and fussing. To this day, I'm still not sure who got up and brought the child into the bed. And apparently, I think they put the toddler in between the two of them. And you're going to guess what happened next. When they woke up in the morning, the child was dead. And the police showed up within the hour. They had called, the police came so quick they didn't clean up the house or anything. The police found a pipe right on top of the headboard where the child was laying. It all came out that they'd been smoking all night long. They brought the child into the bed. One of them apparently rolled over the child and suffocated it. And my ex-girlfriend was charged with manslaughter. I think it was manslaughter. I'm not sure. You'll have to look. You could look at the article down below. She was charged with, she did 7 years in Niantic State Prison. About 4 of those years were before I got clean and sober, and about 3 of those years were after I got clean and sober. Okay, so when she got out, I had no contact with her through any of those years. And when she got out, I had been 3 years clean and sober, and at this point, she had gotten clean and sober in jail too. She actually, well, I'll get to that in a second. After she got out, she got into counseling, and she actually became a certified drug counselor. And I heard she turned her life around after she got out of jail. She inherited her mother's house. She owned a house. She was working. She was a drug counselor. She was, from what I understand, clean and sober. But she came and sought me out. She came into the town that I lived with, and she wanted to reestablish, because at that point, we had known each other for 20, 25 years. And at this point, I was riding my bike around town like I do every day now. And she would come and find me almost every day or every other day. I'd go by Dunkin' Donuts and I'd hear a horn beep, and I'd look over and it was her waving to me. I went to my house. She followed me to my house, and she's like, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I told her straight out. And this is one of the hardest things I ever had to do, because like I said, I loved her. We lived together, but I told her straight out. I said, "I can't do this. I cannot talk to you. You can't be in my life anymore." And I told her that. And it was one of the hardest things. I'm getting goosebumps now. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And it wasn't because of what happened to the toddler. I mean, I honestly, I think that played some role in it. Deep down, I kind of was disgusted by that. But that's not the reason. Was she was a trigger. She was one of the biggest triggers for me, because through our whole relationship, the whole time we lived together, every time we were intimate, every single time, the hundreds of times we were intimate living together, we drank and we used. Whenever either one of us had any money, we used. That was our relationship. That's how it started, and that's how the whole thing went. And she was a trigger for me, even though she was clean and sober and a counselor at that point. Looking at her and talking to her was a trigger for me. I'd hear her laugh. I see her when she pulled up in front of my house and wanted to talk to me. I see her face and I hear that laugh, and it reminds me, it triggers me to use. If I'd let her come in the house and talk to her, there's a good chance that she would have left and gone home, and that trigger would have still been going on in my head, and I would have started thinking, I could call my dealer. It happened before, and that's why I got rid of all these people in my life. I don't want this to sound arrogant, but I discovered I deserved better. I realized and I learned that I deserve a woman that is capable of me treating her good, of my love. And I started dating Audrey. Audrey had been clean and sober. This is my girlfriend that just passed away 3 years ago from COVID. Audrey also got into recovery, but she was into business and management and stuff like that. And she became the head of human resources of one of the highest end recovery centers, Mountainside Recovery in Connecticut. I mean, they have actors and musicians and movie stars that go to this. I believe it's in Canaan, Connecticut. And she was the head of human resources. And one day Audrey came up to me and she says, "Do you know this girl, Roseanne?" Because she applied for a job. One of my ex-girlfriend, who had done 7 years in prison, was applying for a job to my present girlfriend, who was head of human resources. And she asked me, "What do you think of her? Should I hire her?" And I told her the truth. I told her everything. I said, "I think she's a good person. And I think now she's clean and sober, and I think she probably would make a very good counselor." And I actually did recommend to my current girlfriend, Audrey, to hire her. That was my recommendation. I said, "I can't be around her. I have no association." I explained the whole trigger thing, in which Audrey completely understood. But at that point, I realized I could never go back. I was dating, I don't want to say a higher class of woman, but a woman that women that I deserved. Like I said, this woman the other woman had always cheated on me no matter what. And it was at that point I realized that I deserve better, and I will never go back to the people. There's no reason for me to associate with the people that I used with, especially because they're triggers in my life. So, like I said, that's what happened. She did 7 years, and from what I understand, I guess she's still clean and sober. I still haven't had any contact with her for over 18 years, even though we live together. And like I said, in my heart, I still love her, but I can't talk to her. I can't associate with her because she's a trigger for me. And the most important thing in my life right now, the most important thing above all else, is my recovery. Because if I don't have my sobriety, if I don't have my sobriety, I don't have anything. I can't have anything. Recovery is possible. The link's down below. Have a good Thursday.